Hello, everybody. Eighth period U.S. government. I had to run home from school today because my caretaker for my child is sick, so I am at home right now. Just put my child down for a nap, so I have a little bit. Got my dog here, Dexter, who you will probably hear in the background. If you do, I apologize for that. But I wanted to reach out to you guys via a video so that you all have the information for benchmarks 3 and 4 verbally and not just through reading, so that I can kind of explain what I'm expecting. So today, as you can see in the agenda, we want to make sure that you have everything finished for benchmark 2. Make sure everything's done for that, the research, everything's submitted. Benchmark 3 is you're actually writing the paper. If you go into benchmark 3, and I'll give you a second, go ahead and open up benchmark 3. So I'm pulling it up right now. There is a rubric in there. So we're going to the presidential project and going to benchmark 3. And then you'll see the link for the rubric. And the rubric basically will give you information, obviously on how I'm going to grade you all. So it has paragraph 1, what I'm expecting for paragraph 1. Paragraph 2, what I'm expecting for paragraph 2. Remember, paragraph 1 is the basic information concerning the president. And this goes directly along with what you researched in benchmark 2. So this shouldn't be any surprises here. Paragraph 2, presidential power responsibility. Make sure you don't have the same presidential power or responsibility as your other group members, and everyone is writing an individual paper. Paragraph 1 can be very similar to other people, but paragraph 2 should be very different. Obviously, paragraph 1 should not be the same exact words, but the similar information is fine. Paragraph 2 should be very different. Paragraph 3 should be very different because you're each choosing a different presidential power or responsibility. You can see that in the rubric. Paragraph 4, we're looking for that momentous moment, that big moment in that president's life that you are going to be writing about. And we're looking for you to be specific on how they handled that and how they basically handled that situation. Paragraph 5 is the basic information following the president's term in office. So this is life after presidency, their death, how are they viewed. If you have Trump, you're talking about 2020 election. If they died in office, you're talking about their death in office and the impact of that. Continuing down on the rubric, you have the works cited. You have to have 2 sources in MLA format, correct hanging indent, and the citations are in alphabetical order. As long as you have that, you're good to go. And other group members can have the same works cited page as you. That's okay, because you might be using the same sources. That's okay. And then the last thing on the rubric is the written communication, spelling, grammar, sentence structure. Make sure all of that's looking great. Minimal errors with that, and you'll get full credit on that. So that is the paper section of the or the rubric section of the paper. So that's benchmark 3. So benchmark 3 is where you're going to submit your paper. Okay, so your goal is today to finish that paper. Okay, or at least by Thursday before you come into class, for you to have that paper finished, because on Thursday and Friday, I want you to have an opportunity to work on your presentation, okay? And basically everything you wrote in the paper is what you're presenting to the class, okay? And you all are presenting to the class on Tuesday of next week. So a week from today, you all are presenting that information. So that's benchmark 4. So real quick, let's open that up and take a look at that together. So you're going to go to benchmark 4, and that is benchmark 4 presidential presentation. Okay, when you open that up, it's going to have a folder, but it's going to have presidential presentation instructions. And let's look at that. It says your group will create a presentation for the class that you will share on you all would share it on Tuesday, December 17th during 8th period, okay? And your group is creating one presentation that you're going to work on together, okay? Now, let's talk about how the actual presentation is going to work. You all are in groups of 2 and 3. Some of y'all have a group of 1, but groups of 2 and 3. And what's going to happen is one group member is going to present while the other group member goes to another group and lets them present to them. Okay, so you're almost going to be presenting your project to one person or 2 people at a time, and people are going to rotate around kind of like a festival. And you need to be prepared to present for about 2 minutes on this, okay? So let's talk about what goes into it. By now, you should have this information pulled up, presidential presentation instructions. It says the format of the presentation can be basically whatever you want to make it as long as you're delivering the information. It can be a poster, a trifold, you can make a video, you can do a board game, you can do a role playing as the character, you can dress up as them. Basically anything you want to do to make sure to be able to present the information properly and doing everything that's required of you. Your presentation must include all of the following. You have already researched the information for this from the paper. You've already got all this information. You need to put it together, okay? And you can pull from everyone in your group's information, okay? Either the 2 or 3 people are in your group. So the first thing that every presentation has to have is a title, president's name, and then a colon, and then a fun title. For example, Richard Nixon's title would be Richard Nixon, colon. It could be something fun like elected, impeached, resigned, okay? Because he was elected and then he was impeached and then he resigned from office, okay? So that could be yours. Make sure it's appropriate, obviously. Not, fun's great, but or is fine, but don't do anything that's offensive or strange. That doesn't make sense. So, background of the president is the first thing you need to include. This must include a large picture of the president. No, I don't mean like huge, but big. Where they were born, their occupation before their presidency, what major events happened before and during their presidency, wars, basically everything you research for the paper. What type of presidents they were, and this can be kind of biased, what you think. So that first section of your poster or your trifold or your video or whatever you're making needs to be about their background. The second thing, and all of this is in the instructions, you should have this open looking at this. The second thing is powers and responsibilities project. This must include 3 examples of the powers and responsibilities of the president and explain. If you're in a group of 1 and you know who you are, you only have to have 2, okay? Because I don't want you to have to go out and do more work than anyone else. But if you're in a group of 2 or 3, you just have to pull from, 1 from each person or 2 from each, or 1 or 2 from each person. You have to have evidence showcasing how the president handled and used the power, and then a picture or drawing associated with each of the powers and responsibilities. Okay, so 3 explanations of what the powers and responsibilities are, 3 ways to showcase how the president handled that power or responsibility, and then a picture goes along with it. So that's the second part. Third part, that momentous moment. So a small title of the momentous moment, a description of that moment, and then a description of how the president handled that moment in history. Next, life after the presidency. This must include life after the presidency, death if they're passed away, what is their legacy following their presidency. If you chose Trump, showcase information about the election of 2020. And then finally, presentation. So this is overall presentation. You'll be great on the rubric on this part. Is whatever you create, it needs, if it's a board game or a trifold or a poster or role playing it, it needs to be neat, organized, and easy to understand. You'll be deducted points if your presentation looks thrown together and chaotic. Poster board, trifold, etc. should have little blank space, meaning like if you have a poster that's 3 by 3, all your work shouldn't be at the very top middle. It should be throughout and cover most of it, okay? Easy to read and use the space that you have. The presentation should be colorful and should be exciting to see, okay? So that is benchmark 4. So your goals today, number 1, is to make sure everything's submitted from benchmark 2. The second thing that you need to do is finish your paper, okay? And be done with that. Have it submitted before Thursday so that you can have the whole classroom time Thursday and Friday to work on your presentation. And then the third thing is to start thinking about your presentation. Now, here's the big thing, okay? If you don't hear anything else, listen to this because the agenda says this. If you have a specific request for materials, like Mr. Richard, I can't get a trifold on my own, or I need a poster board, or I need glitter, whatever it might be, that you special need for this project, you need to let me know by 3 o'clock. The only thing I'm not willing to get for you is your costume for role playing if you're going to role play as that. I'm not going to go out and buy like a beard or something like that or a wig and stuff like that. I'm just not going to do that. But if you want to get that on your own, you can. Or you can get all your materials on your own. That's fine. But if you want a trifold, if you want a big poster board, if you want something that's specific to your project, you need to let me know by the end of this class. And you're going to do that through an email. There's no submission on Echo, just through an email. Make sure to do that, okay? And if you have any other questions, please let me know. I would be happy to help you guys out. So good luck. Email me if you need anything. Ms. Turner, if you need anything, don't hesitate to call. We appreciate everything you guys are doing. Keep going. Thanks.